Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, pick guardian.
Jared Brandon with Brandon One Pickups.
Hey, everybody, it's me, Todd Novak. Welcome to the Guitar Knobs podcast. We're really happy that you are listening. You've made the choice. You said, what do I want to listen to? And you chose us. And honestly, that makes me feel really, really good. And I know it makes Tony feel good. And I know it makes Jared feel good. And I for sure know it's going to make our special guest feel good. Special guest, who are you?
I am Chris Vincent with R2R Electric.
Hey.
And that is, if you're looking for that on the internet, it's R2R Electric. And where can people find you?
So they can find me on r2relectric.com or Instagram. I'm at DJ Lava Lamp.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. We'll get into it, but I didn't start this. I didn't start this to become a business. This it was my personal Instagram, and it just kind of went from there.
Right.
Nice.
Right. I just accidentally got awesome. I'm sorry.
Whoop.
I know how that feels.
Well, we are beyond excited to be talking to Chris today. Many of you who have been listening for a long time have probably heard references of R2R Electric. We heard it from 29 Pedals. We heard it from Hello Sailor. And he's making some really, really fantastic sounding pedals and doing them in a pretty original way. He's kind of not just, doing his own thing. So we want to celebrate that. And so make sure you go and check out some of the things he's doing if you have the opportunity while you're listening. We've got a couple of announcements. We want to thank Road. I decided to jump in there with you guys. So we got the Rodecaster Pro here doing the heavy lifting for us. It's a fantastic tabletop contraption that is enabling this podcast and enabling not only our voices to come through, but also to have this fantastic exchange with our supreme guest tonight. And we have the Procaster mics kicking it live, as they say on the street. So it is happening.
They really say that on the street?
I've been told that.
Okay.
Yes. So thank you very much for doing that. And we want to give a shout out to John Fennell for hosting our, the studio here and enabling us to have all our gear and whatnot here. RelayRecording.com and johnfintel.com, JONFINTEL. He is a fantastic producer and audio engineer that is very, very interested in making sure that your awesome guitar tone is the tone that you want when you're recording. And even if you're not. So if you got any questions, shoot them over to him. I'm sure he'd be happy to answer. Not having asked him. So, gentlemen, what is going on in our music worlds this week? We're going to start with Tony Bolonsky, and then we're going to check with Chris.
All right, so this week, I've been playing around with some bass contour circuitry in guitars.
Oh.
And, for lack of a better term, the bass contour is basically a bass cut versus a tone control, which is basically a treble cut. And this comes in handy sometimes if you have a really boomy neck pickup and things like that you need to filter out some of that real low-end bassy kind of stuff. I've been using it on a couple of Rickenbacker projects that I've been rewiring, and I'm really liking the ability to filter out some of that bottom end, especially like if you're in the neck position. So I've converted some of them over to have a master tone and a master bass contour knob instead of two tones.
Can I have a bass contour knob on the table when you guys finally get back in the studio to cut out your bottom end?
My bottom end?
Okay.
Todd, that hurts my feelings.
Oh, man, you really brought down the party.
Jeez. But anyhow, but it's kind of cool. It's a simple circuit. It's essentially like I typically use .022 caps for my tone controls. This is a .0022 capacitor that you use on the bass control or bass contour. And, it's passive circuitry. It works really well. And like I said, just to filter out that bottom end stuff, it works really well, especially if you're going for that real bright, chimey sound that I love.
Chris, do you ever put any of those on your pedals?
Kind of, actually. It's not so much a bass control, but the input capacitor of the Rangemaster is a 5600 picofarad or 0056.
Okay.
So it filters out a lot of the low end. That's why that's the reason it's called the treble booster. Is not so much that it boosts treble, it just doesn't boost anything below, I forget the actual frequencies, but it cuts out anything.
Right.
Sorry, not cuts, but it just doesn't boost or amplify. So you're only getting kind of like a highs and mids push instead of the whole thing. So on my 2-knob version, or on the version that you guys have too, the amp top, that 6-way switch is increasing the value of that capacitor from the very small to very large. So 22 is like, I think, position 5. So like a standard 022 cap that you'd have for like a tone control is position 5. So it's actually, you can hear how much that actually lets through. And then the last one's a 100 NF or a 0.1.
I think if I had a treble boost like that, I might want to call it like the Gomer pile.
Love it.
It's like, everybody's lined up and the sergeant says, I need a volunteer, and everybody backs up a step, but he doesn't know it.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Jared, is there a thing for that in the actual military?
What's that? When you
is that called something when everybody else is like, not me? And the not me also works. It's not as sexy, but
there's not really anything it's not called anything. If they don't get a volunteer, they just choose people out of the formation.
Yeah.
There's nothing. That's just called not volunteering, and then getting involuntarily chosen.
Yeah. Okay.
Or chosen involuntarily.
Yes. Or
what does that mean? I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Anyway, they just choose you, and then you go do the KP duty because you have to work in the kitchen all day instead of training.
Breathe, Jared.
But you get your choice of really good pie and stuff. When you go to eat, it
makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah, there's goods and bads for every little avenue you have to take in the military. So.
Nice.
Make it sound like the facts of life. All right.
Much.
So, thanks for the info on that, Chris. It led to all kinds of fun. Let's see. So, how about what's going on in your music world?
Before that, what's your favorite kind of pie?
Oh man, favorite kind of pie? I'm going to say blackberry.
Ooh,
not bad, especially in a pie.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
That's what that's what we called it.
Wow,
an actual
we didn't
pie.
say what kind of cake you want. And he said blackberry.
I take that back. I think I would fight, and I would think I'd rather have a blackberry cheesecake.
Oh, yeah. All right. Okay. If we're going to do cheesecakes, then yeah.
No, we were doing pies. That was the whole
believe the
thing.
question was
there's a lot to choose from in those dining halls in the military. It's like going to an old country buffet, but the desserts are a little better. Oh, no, I'm not kidding. It was good. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Anyways,
we're off the rails.
Totally off the rails.
Yeah. Is this a guitar podcast, by the way?
It is. Let's get back to that. Hey, so Chris, how you doing? What is going on in your music world this week, friend?
Man, it's a fantastic question. What is going on in my music world? A lot of testing. Unfortunately, my world revolves mostly around building these days. But when I get a play, I've been plugging in. I just built an Esquire, just like a parts caster.
Oh, cool.
Recently, and so I've been picking that guy up a lot. I got a big fat neck from Warmouth. It was in their parts bin or whatever they call their like pre-made necks. I didn't order it custom or anything, but I had them put huge frets on it. Dunlop 6100.
Oh,
it's really like
sweet.
Big, almost bass frets, and it is so much fun to play.
What pickups do you have on it?
That actually, a guy got in touch with me. He goes by Oat Soda Sound Company, and he's a dude in Arizona that just, I guess he's been winding pickups for himself and for some buddies. And he reached out and asked me if he could send me some, as I've been trying to put together like a 59 style Esquire custom. I played one years back, and it was still like one of the best guitars I've ever played.
Nice.
So I've been chasing this 59 Esquire because I can't buy one.
For those who don't know what an Esquire is, would you explain that?
Oh, of course, yeah. Esquire is a single pickup Telecaster, and it still has the 3-way switch. It's just wired differently. So you get position 1 is straight through, like it doesn't go through any of the circuitry. It's pickup to the output. And second is
so no tone control.
Right. I'm sorry. It goes through the volume. There's no tone control.
Okay.
The second position, you get a tone control and then standard volume. And then I did what's called the Eldred wiring diagram, and that puts another small capacitor and acts kind of like a filter. It's kind of like a low contour, you're doing, just no control over it. It's just a set value.
Right.
Nice.
It's just kind of always on. And I changed it a little bit because it's usually a bigger value. But I wanted it to get I really like kind of that mid-range honk. So I did like 8,500 picofarad or something. I tested a bunch of old Sprague Bumblebee caps that I had sitting around and found like an odd value and stuck it in there.
Awesome.
So
that sounds great.
That's been a lot of fun to play. And
is that just net like what color did you do the guitar up?
It's Sunburst. Sunburst, the double bound Sunburst, which is just kind of a classic look. I always really like that. I wanted Lake Placid Blue, but I couldn't find one that was double bound, so I gave up after 2 years of trying.
I like it. I like it.
That's a fun one.
Thanks for the explanation on the Esquire. I think a lot of people just think it's a single pickup telly, you know? I mean,
right,
which it is, but there's more to it, obviously.
It's really versatile for being a one pickup guitar. There's a lot of stuff you can do with them.
And a lot of people like them because there's no pull from a neck pickup, magnetic pull from a neck pickup that, a lot of people say strangles the strings.
There's something to it. I've the last 4 guitars I've bought in a row have all been single pickup.
Yeah.
I like that idea. Do you think it feels a little more, does it have like a little more snap or a little more twang, or what's the sound that you like to get out of it?
Yeah, I think it's probably, it's got a bit of that twang. The other 2 have been Les Paul Juniors, a 61 and a 57, so a SG style and then a single cut style. And there's just also something to the wrap tailpiece, I think, on the Gibsons that I really like. It's the third or fourth one, I guess I should say, is a Firebird 1 copy by Greco. And so the 3 are all wrap tail pieces, and there's something about the feel of a Gibson and a wrap tail piece as opposed to a Tune-o-matic bridge that I just found I really like. I think they're a bit snappier, and they're very present. Like when you're playing them, it's almost like playing an acoustic guitar. Like all your mistakes come through, which is a good or a bad thing, I guess. Like
there's just less string there, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
There's less string. There's probably less. I don't know. There's less flex in the string. It's just a lot stiffer, right? Wouldn't you say?
Right. Yeah. And it just feels different. I'm not sure how to describe it, but yeah, just
No, you're dead on. I mean, and the cool thing about the wraparounds is there is a direct transfer of vibration to the body of the guitar.
Exactly.
And
There's
that's
not
why
all the extra.
I love wraparound bridges. You can't intonate most of them, but there's ways around that too.
Yeah, there's some companies that have made those to where there's Allen wrench screws in the back, and you can kind of go somewhat intonate them. There's the old lightning rod version too. I think Advanced Plating made one that's really nice. That's easy to. But yeah, you're right, Tony. I mean, back in the day, it was what it was, and that was it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at that compared to, even Gretsch had, those basically a round bar that, you just adjusted the base of the bridge to get it about where it ought to be.
Right.
So I've got an old badass bridge in a drawer somewhere. You don't like those, Tony Baloney?
Hate them.
I didn't pick that up through that sound.
Are they just
what I got from you?
Are they what do you hate about them, Tony? Now that we brought it up, I got to know what's bad about it. I never liked it either, but I want to know.
I think they're overly clunky. The Tone Pros made a decent bridge, and in my opinion, there's a couple others out there that are actually pretty good that are somewhat adjustable. Mm-hmm. But my go-to on all of those has always been I just go with a standard tailpiece. Because I just like the simplicity of that. And I think the more stuff more screws and moving pieces and parts that you add to it, the less mechanical transfer you get.
Yeah. And a rhythm player is going to basically stay closer to the headstock anyhow on a fretboard.
Yeah. Keep it under 5. You're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as you're not trying to record super precise prog rock or something, you don't need to be completely intonated all the way up the fretboard anyway.
Amen.
Todd's and I's favorite band, Kansas.
Yeah. No. But I like that. That would be a great shirt to wear at NAMM. Intonation. Who needs it?
Yeah. Close enough for rock and roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds more important.
Well, gentlemen, that was a delightful conversation. Let me ask who might... Jared. Let's go to Jared.
Yeah. I was like, are you going to skip me this time?
Yeah, man.
No, man. So I got this email the other day, and this fella, it came from a Canadian Army email. So it was a Canadian Army email, and the guy's like, hey, how you doing? This is my work email. I'm a lieutenant colonel in the Canadian Army. And I'm like, because I was in the Army, and a lieutenant colonel is like a super high. That's like a battalion level commander that commands about, I don't know, like 200 or 300 people. Mm-hmm. So it's a big deal. So I was like, oh my gosh, a lieutenant colonel might buy a product from me. And I just got all excited about it. And I'm like, I emailed him back. I'm like, oh, I served too here in America. And we also talked with someone in the British Navy just last week, and and I'm so happy to talk with military people. So I'm all excited about this. 2 days later, he calls me. Today, I'm out in my truck running some errands, and I get a phone call. The phone number just looks like a normal, because the Canadian numbers look normal on my phone. I answer it, and the guy's like, hey, how you doing? I'm Mark. I emailed the other day, and I said, oh, hi, Mark. I'm sorry. I get a lot of emails. I'm not sure.
Oh, hi, Mark.
And I have no idea it's him until halfway through the conversation. I just feel so stupid, and I don't even bring it up. And I got so upset about it. And we had a great conversation, by the way. I mean, I answered all his questions. It was great talking to him. So I call him an hour later because it just got to me. I'm like, listen, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I was talking to you. You're a lieutenant colonel in the Canadian Army. I should have offered you a lot more courtesy with military respect and all that kind of thing. And he just, oh, don't worry about it. But that just came automatic to me, and it bugged me. It's like you do 3 years in the Army, and that it just still, it sticks with you, even though it's just about guitar pickups. You know what I mean? Right. But it was really it's kind of been a coincidence that he emails me. I got an email from, I did a job for a fella about 2 weeks ago that's in the Army here in the U.S. It's been pretty military lately. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But that's about it. I don't really have a punchline for this other than
The guy who called you up, you didn't know who it was? Okay.
Didn't know who it was. I felt I wish I was in front of my computer so I could get his name and then look it up, and then I'd know who I'm talking to. Yeah. But you don't remember every single email, every single message that you get. So, you just have to play it cool and navigate the way around the conversation. I think that's why a lot of businesses don't even answer the phone anymore.
Right.
Yeah. I can dig it, man.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of the Canadian Army, what's up in your world this week, Todd?
General Todd.
Yes. Well, I've been very just busy having some fun, just playing pedals and junk and flipping around guitars and just trying to get as much time in as I can. It's a little tougher, but I've been trying to put more combinations together that I wouldn't normally play, and trying to just kind of go like, hey, I could allow myself to have some of these tones in there. I've been paying attention to a lot of recordings and listening to like little stuff, and I'm like, you know what? I wouldn't have guessed that they would have had that sound on there, but I can hear it back there, and even though I will bring this up all the time. It's like I love the Cars. And just even dropping my kids off at the pool, And no, I actually took my kids to school.
You may want to take that one out.
Oh, tough it up. It's not that cold.
Yes, on the way to school, they love listening to the Cars too. So we're listening to a couple of songs, and I was paying attention to some of the stuff that you can't really hear unless you're really paying attention, but you're like, I love this sound, and I don't know why, but then you can start to pick it out, and I was like, I wouldn't have thought they would have had that there, but they do. And so I've been looking for those little sounds, types of sounds that aren't the upfront sounds that I can layer into a song and get a little of that extra special sort of thing.
Do you know what you're hearing, old buddy?
What's that?
You're hearing a 70s SG with a pair of DiMarzios in it.
Well, I understand what you're saying, and you're not totally wrong, but listening to Elliot play different types of things in the back where he's not up front, but he's layering in all these little bits and it's like, ooh, little effects and stuff like that.
When you hear it on the radio, like especially their big hit, they
only had one.
That's what I needed. Yeah, that one. If you try to like play that solo, it's a lot harder to play than what it sounds on the radio. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, because you have to play it on a left-handed guitar.
Yes.
With the Marzios and 70s SG. Yep.
Well, anyways, I was talking specifically about more,
the backfill stuff.
The backfill stuff.
Yep.
He's doing like heavy delays, but they're just, it's barely audible, but it's adding that little sound to the stuff. And I play a lot of rhythms. It's almost all. It's pretty straightforward rock and roll, but I'm looking for that. I'm always trying to get like a little extra something that gives that song a sort of like, I can't put my finger on what this is, but there's something really cool to it. So that's what I was doing. So there.
Nice.
Oh, you got some producer stuff going in your brain, dude.
Oh,
yeah,
always,
exactly.
dude. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of fun stuff.
So, Jared, you want to give this another shot?
It's the what are we doing?
How about some of this?
How about some of this?
That's pretty good. It's pretty good. You got another one in there, Jared?
Let's get another.
Come on. You held back.
You want me to kind of do that? The weird?
Do whatever you want to do, man.
You do whatever you want, man. This is your show.
All right. Well, how about some of this?
I like the first one better.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the floor.
Hey, Todd.
Yes?
Back in the day, and I'm talking way back in the day, when I was wiring up my pedal boards. Actually, we didn't even have pedal boards back then. We had a piece of wood, and we glued our pedals to the wood. That's right. And then we put all these cables in between.
Elmer's glue.
And we liked it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But, I used to make all these little shorty cables to try to run stuff between and What a mess. I mean, it was like a spaghetti storm, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Then, not terribly long ago, I discovered a great source for cabling.
Mm-hmm.
Could you guess who that might be?
I think I can. It's Tour Gear Designs patch cables.
Yep.
Absolutely. These things are lovely. They're small. They're, as far as I can tell, about the most dependable ones that I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not. They're very inexpensive.
They are,
and they come in a variety of, shapes and sizes that you can mix and match depending on where your jacks are on pedals. I mean, I really like them. There's something beautiful about that flat design of the cable, as well as the little teeny tiny
low. Yeah, it's got an incredibly low profile and a small profile. Chris, have you ever used these?
I haven't, but now I want to.
Yeah,
you must.
Do you do a lot of pedal boards, I imagine?
I've done in the past. Yeah, I've got a few. I always try to keep one for small gigs, one for bigger gigs, and I'm kind of spoiled, so I've got several pedal boards.
Yeah,
and, I'm always rewiring them, and it's a pain.
Yeah. Well, next time you do it, you might want to try these out. tourgeardesigns.com/discount/ the guitar knobs. Use that, and you're going to save 10% off your entire order. Okay.
Very affordable.
Perfect.
All right. So make sure you guys go check that out. tourgeardesigns.com/discount/ the guitar knobs. Make your pedal board happy. And thanks to Tour Gear for making an awesome product. All right. Chris Vincent. That's a freaking cool rock and roll name, by the way, man. You lucked out with that.
I did. It's not bad.
It's pretty sweet. Can I call myself that just tonight?
Sure.
Todd Vincent.
That would be so weird.
Todd, Chris.
So you got a 4 on the floor, and we can't wait to hear it. Let's do this. What's
right.
number 1?
Well, I got to call the classic. Number 1 for me is always a rangemaster. Ever since I discovered it, I am been a huge fan of that effect, and not just mine. Anybody that makes a treble booster or a rangemaster style treble booster, I've probably got one at my house somewhere. I love that effect, and I can't imagine playing without it anymore.
Is there a particular brand that you or I guess style? I know you make a couple of different ones, but
yeah.
What's the one? What's your go-to?
My go-to actually has been from a guy that goes by Veritone Pedals, Adriano. He used to be here in LA, and he's now in Italy.
Yeah.
But he makes a treble booster, kind of a rangemaster style treble booster, and that's called the Valiant, that I've been a big fan of for a long time. I reached out to him after buying one, and we kind of hit it off, and we've been friends ever since. But I really like that. And I've also got an amp top version, kind of like the original, from a guy over in the UK, Pigeon Effects. And he makes really cool replicas of old pedals, like the John Hornby Skews treble booster and the Rangemaster and stuff like that. And big fan of those.
Nice. I like it. Okay, what's number 2?
Number 2 is going to kind of just go straight down that line, and fuzz face. I can't live without my fuzz faces now. Ever since discovering what a good fuzz face sounds like. There's tons of them out there, but when you find a good one, it's kind of a magical experience.
Aren't the good ones with the germanium transistors and stuff? That's
what most people would say, and mine is a germanium one too. I would argue that if you're going for like the Dunlop fuzz faces that they're making these days, their Jimi Hendrix fuzz that they make, fuzz face, is a BC108, I want to say, which are silicone transistors, and it's by far one of the best sounding fuzz faces. That's like a major production that you can get out there for, under a couple of $100. And I think George Tripp's had a lot to do with designing that one, so that's probably why it's so good. But yeah, mine's a germanium one made by Dustin Francis. It's called he makes extremely detailed replicas of fuzz faces from every year that they were made, from 66 to 70 or something like that. And he sources all the original parts, and it's pretty nuts.
Nice.
But I played a ton of original ones, and I have to say I like his better than any of the vintage ones I've played.
Nice.
It's really good. So get yourself a good fuzz face.
Yes.
Three.
So number 3, I was having a hard time with this because people are going to say there's no modulation or time-based effects. And as much as I love them and I do use them, next one is going to be any kind of fuzz that was made by Blackstrap Electric. A guy named Matt Seppi makes these, and they are just the coolest fuzzes. He finds, kind of like me, he finds old parts, and he does his own take on vintage circuits, everything from like the Zonk machine to I have one of his rangemasters, but his stuff is just incredible. It's more like a piece of art than it is anything else. Not fuzz face, but like tone bender style fuzz. I think would be my third.
Nice.
But especially built by him. And then my last one is going to be the first in the chain because it's the 29 pedals Una. Ever since getting that and putting it on a board, it's just incredible what it does.
I'm waiting for mine.
It's something that you didn't know you needed until you have it.
I believe you.
Yeah.
So that's why I got one.
It's amazing. It makes everything better. I don't know how or why, but there's any rig can get you like 99% of the way there. And it's that last 1% that I think, especially as a player, that we really are kind of looking for, is that last little bit that just gives us the inspiration to play something new, or it just helps inspire new things. And I'd say that Una does that for me every time I plug in a pedal board now.
Awesome. I cannot wait to get mine.
That is a heck of a board. Now,
so do you think that's is it the impedance that the Una changes that makes it sweeter, I guess, the sound?
I definitely think that has a lot to do with it. The first two pedals, the Rangemaster and the Fuzz Face, are also the reason that you can't put buffers in front of them is because they're looking for the impedance of the guitar's pickups. They're designed to run off of that specific impedance.
That's good to know.
And that's why if you put a buffer in front of it, it sounds terrible. It sounds thin and really weak, and it's because it's getting something that it's not expecting, and so it just, the circuit doesn't work that way.
So if you have like a buffered tuner, don't put it in front of that.
Don't put it in front, right? And the Una specifically has that loop in it to take the your germanium fuzz or your germanium treble booster and put it in its own separate loop. So when the Una's on, the pedals aren't going through it. When you turn the Una off, that's when they turn on, basically, is how that functions. And so it kind of just is a multi-tool to, if you use vintage style pedals like that. So obviously that's another, big reason I like the Una. But yeah, I think that impedance really, it's important. I don't know why, I'm not sure the physics behind it, but I think that it is important to your overall tone for sure.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's always been the thing with, people that have long cable runs,
right,
where a lot of pedals are going through, generally like having a buffered preamp, even if it's a unity gain amp, and just to change the impedance down and allow the signal to travel, I guess, more cleanly or further or whatever it does.
Right. Yeah. You can definitely hear it if you've got a 60-foot cable. It's a heck of a lot different sound than, plugging a 3-foot cable in.
Yeah, makes sense.
Dig it. All right, Chris, we have you on the show because you make some awesome stuff yourself. And it's
Thanks.
great that we've been talking about how awesome everybody else is, but now it's time to talk about how awesome you are. So, you came up when we were talking to 29 Pedals, and he was raving about him.
Jesse's awesome.
Yeah. So we trust Jesse's taste and and understanding of what sounds good. And so I immediately, I think on the show, actually, when we were doing that, I'd follow. And I realized that I was like, oh, wait, I've seen your name come up before. So
Cool.
it's always fun to hear, you dropped like one or two that maybe not everybody's familiar with. And so it's always fun to get like, oh, wow, I don't know what that is. And then all of a sudden you're into it and you're like, well, I can't wait to get something from this person. So
it's really fun. I love discovering new guys that are building stuff. It's just exciting.
yeah, it keeps the whole thing moving.
Right.
So speaking of keeping the whole thing moving, you is it fair to say that you've made your mark with the Rangemaster?
Yeah, that's definitely where my focus has been pretty much the whole time. I've heard from many people that I'm the treble booster guy now. Right. So,
and when I say Rangemaster, I'm saying it like Kleenex. It's like there's a brand called Kleenex, but everything else is still called Kleenex. So
totally, and it's basically that. But the Rangemaster really was the one. Like there was a few similar things, but basically anybody who says treble booster, they're talking about a Rangemaster or some derivative of that circuit for sure. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's really what I've made my mark with, and it all kind of happened by accident. But sorry, I've got a dog here.
No, that's all right. He can listen. It's fine.
Hello, doggy.
Hey, pup.
So tell us about this happy accident of yours.
So me being mostly a vintage gear junkie, I want everything to be vintage. And so this all kind of started from me trying to find tubes, because I'm sure we've all gone on eBay and we want to find a black plate RCA 12AX7, and then you see the price and then you say, forget about it. Mm-hmm. So I started thinking, well, I've seen tubes in old, they use old PA heads, and there's got to be something out there. And so I started finding stuff at thrift shops or antique stores and tearing it open and seeing what it had in there. I think the first thing I had got was a old 16 millimeter projector, and it had a Westinghouse 12AX7 buried somewhere in there. It took me like a whole day to figure out how to take the thing apart. But that was kind of like the aha moment. Like, these do have good tubes in them. So I started just buying up what I could find. I wasn't spending much. If it was over $20, I'd probably just leave it, because I didn't want to, A, litter my house with just a bunch of carcasses of old tape players, and B, it just be just as expensive. So I just started taking them apart, and as I was taking them apart and finding these things, I'd see that different ones had different parts in them that I'd recognize from old amps or from old pedals. This has got central lab pots in it. Those are pretty cool. And so I just started saving them, not knowing what I was doing. I just knew that they were probably worth saving. And for years I did this. I did this for probably 2 years. And one day I got 2 tape recorders. One was solid state, and it had these transistors in it that turned out to be transistors that had been used in a bunch of fuzz pedals. So then I thought, well, maybe I should start saving these transistors. And I had never been very good with electronics. Like I could install a set of pickups, maybe. It was about the most I had done with a soldering iron before all this happened. But I met a friend, and he was a pedal builder. So I gave him some parts and asked him if he could build me a treble booster, because that was the only thing that I had enough parts for. And he looked up the schematic and called me one day and said, "It's done. Come out. Let's try it out." And I brought out an old Guild amp. It's kind of like a kind of like an Ampeg copy of an Ampeg from the mid 60s. And we plugged this pedal in, and the first time I hit it, I was just like, oh my God, this is the sound that I have not been able to find my entire life. I've been playing, 20 years at this point, and I always had this sound in my head, what a guitar is supposed to sound like. And it finally was coming out of the amp I was standing in front of. And so that was kind of the aha moment that, A, the rangemaster, that's what all the fuss is about. I'd never heard one before that. And B, maybe old parts do matter. Maybe because they just, for whatever reason, that combination sounded great. So my friend Tucker, his company was called Lamp Electric, and he made crazy noisemaker pedals that I could never understand, but he was great, really great guy. He's unfortunately passed away a few years ago. So I had started building. I had the one that he made me. I still have, and I started copying it. I looked up the parts, and I'd call him and say, well, what does this part do? What do I need? Or will this work? And he kind of helped me, and I started practicing so that we could start this company together, building these pedals out of vintage parts that I had stored away. And he got busy with his stuff, and I just kind of kept doing it. I think I built like 5, and I thought, wow, if I sold these for $100 a piece on Reverb, I'd have like $500. That'd be great. And so I threw them up on Reverb, and a couple of them sold, and I would post stuff on Instagram. Really, everything kind of happened on Instagram. I would just post what I was doing, like, here's the next one I built, and I'd build 10 of them or something, and throw them up on Reverb for $100 a piece, and then a couple weeks would go by, and one would sell here, one would sell there, and once they all sold out, I'd have 10 more, and it literally kept going like that. And it's 2.5 years later, and I just packed up, and I'm shipping out number 710.
Wow,
that's amazing.
Today. So yeah, things really started to snowball when a couple of artists. I had Nick Perry bought a pedal and posted about it, and that was like really the big starting point. Like I was selling a few here and there, like enough to like it was kind of a part-time job. It was a good side hustle. But once Nick and then Mark Agnesi from Gibson posted about one that he got from me, and that went nuts, and it's just been growing ever since. And I'm still just kind of doing the same thing. Like I've had to make a few improvements in production process and selling process and stuff like that. Like everything used to be, I would hand make you whatever you wanted. Like if you wanted it to be blue with red knobs and this transistor with these capacitors, was kind of how I did the first maybe 100 or 200 or so. Or they were just kind of a mix and match that I made. I was spray painting everything in my apartment bathroom, because I'm doing all of this from my kitchen table in my apartment here in Hollywood. Space is at a premium here, so it's hard to find a workshop or anything when the rent's $10,000 a month.
Yeah.
So I'm still doing everything out of our apartment, and just been crazy. It's been super fun. I mean, it's I feel very lucky to be able to do what I'm doing, because I know, like, I never intended to start building pedals because I felt like the world didn't need another pedal company by any means. There's plenty of people out there making pedals, and they make good pedals, and they make great pedals. And I still don't consider myself a pedal builder over a guitar player. Like I still think of myself as a guitar player, but that's not what I do anymore.
Yeah. What were you doing before you switched over?
I'm mostly composing and session work. I'd been before moving to LA, I was living off of playing gigs and doing sessions up in Seattle, which is where I'm from. I was born and raised up in Seattle, and then about 10 years ago moved down here with my girlfriend, who's now my wife. and I was doing mostly composing, like for TV commercials or short movie shorts, stuff like that. And so it was, that was kind of nice. I was working at the Sam Ash down on Sunset Boulevard part-time, doing composing part-time, which gave me the time to go and find all these tape recorders to pull apart. And, in my downtime when I wasn't working as a composer or whatnot, I pulled these things apart and then taught myself how to build rangemasters. And I quit the job at Sam Ash 2 years ago and quit doing composing basically, except for a few friends I'll still do stuff for. And I've been full-time pedals for a year and a half or so. And when I say full-time, I work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, every day.
Wow.
I tried to take Christmas off, but I actually really like what I'm doing. So I just, when I'm bored, I go sit down and start building again because I just really like it.
That's awesome.
There you go.
Oh, to be so lucky, right?
I really am. Like, the old saying is, if you do what you enjoy, you never work a day in your life. Like, if I wasn't making money off of this, I'd still be doing it because I just like it.
That's awesome. Fantastic. I love to hear origin stories, how people fall into it, and not unlike so many others that we've had on the show. I mean, I don't know how many people we've actually have admitted to saying, yes, I set out to be a pedal builder.
Right? Yeah. I don't think many of us do.
Yeah.
It's remarkable.
It's funny.
So you're doing that many treble boosters, and that's, you're finding all kinds of neat ways to make them interesting and aesthetically different, and etc. Do you ever find yourself saying, like, man, I really want to do something like off the rails different?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, the ideas I get are, especially for me, are pretty ambitious considering I don't have any kind of technical background in it. I'd love to make a tape echo someday, and I would love to build like the old de-Armand tremolos with the little oil in them. There's just a motor and that kind of stuff. Things that I have no business trying to make, and they make no sense to make, but they're just fun, and they sound like the record, and that's what I like about them.
So Chris, you'd sent us the amp top version.
Yes.
Of the treble booster. Is that your top seller, or some of the other pedals that you offer, other versions of that, the bigger sellers? I
think that probably the Stomp Box version with the two knobs is definitely the best seller. It's kind of hard to know because of the way that everything's set up. I have to, if I just put up like the way that I'm set up now, if I just put up orders like through my website, I would probably have a 2 to 3 year wait list.
Oh, wow.
As fast as I can build. Like, it's insane.
That's incredible.
I don't know how it happened, but so the way I set it up, I just have to pick an amount that I can physically do in a certain period of time. I try to keep it short because I don't like to take people's money and not deliver quickly. So I usually do batches of about 25 or 30 pedals, and I try to do that every 2 weeks. But I have to kind of base it off of what takes longer and what takes less time. So the Stomp Boxes go a little quicker than the amp tops, so I usually don't make as many amp tops available. Because of that, the Stomp Boxes are the better sellers. I've sold more of them, but that's mostly because I can make more of them. I don't know if it's actually would be the better seller or not. It'd be interesting to know, but I don't have the bandwidth because I'm still just one guy doing everything, and it's hard to keep up. I'll tell you, it's pretty nuts.
Do Tony, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, both, Jared and I both have helpers, but even so, it's tough to keep up with orders and
Right.
emails and everything else that,
Oh my God, yeah.
that this type of business requires.
Jerks bothering you about being on a dumb show.
Oh, they hate. They say, what kind of podcast is that?
So, you mentioned some of the magic that's in these. A lot of the things that you're listing that's in these pedals are, I would imagine, pretty hard to, or are getting harder to get.
They're definitely getting harder to get. I think it's subjective about the magic part of them. I have a theory or philosophy on what I think sounds good, and I think the more simple the gear, the better. Kind of like when we were talking about, one pickup guitar. There's just less things getting in the way.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at a schematic of a Dallas Rangemaster, it's like 6 parts, really, what it comes down to in the actual circuit of the of that effect. It's 1 transistor, 3 resistors, and 4 capacitors, whatever that comes out to be. And there's something to that, and it's just a volume. There's no separate gain or anything. I have added the switch.
I think that's a magic myself.
I would agree with that.
That definitely helps. It gives you a lot more tones out of it. So the original Rangemaster would just be position 1 on that switch.
Right.
So that was the original effect, was just that one thing, which is great. And that's still probably my favorite sound out of all of them. But it's still, I think that the switch kind of retains the magic because it's those rotary switches take everything else out. Like, you'll see treble boosters with a 2 or a 3-way like toggle switch.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one capacitor that will always be in that circuit if you do it that way. So there's either 1 or 2 capacitors like adding on each other.
Mm-hmm.
And with the rotary switch, it's literally breaks the connection from the capacitor before it. And it's just that one cap. So it's just kind of like mechanically switching out a capacitor.
Mm-hmm.
So it keeps it true to the original circuit. And there's something to that simplicity, I think. Running back then, you'd be running a 1 or 2 pickup guitar into this Rangemaster, into an amp that had, a master volume and a treble and bass control or a tone control.
And a ton of volume.
Yeah, and a ton of volume. That helps too.
Yeah.
That helps, I think, a lot with its power tube distortion is really where you're getting a lot of that tone that you get out of a cranked non-master volume amp.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between, with an amp with a master volume, you're cranking the preamplifier to get the overdrive. And when you don't have a master volume, you have to push all the tubes to their limit. And I think that's kind of where that a lot of the kind of magical tone sits as well. It's just being really loud, because the Rangemaster adds another 20 something decibels on top of that cranked amp.
Wow.
So that's what one of the complaints that I have got in the past is that it's just too loud. Like, can you make it quieter? And it sounds good because it's loud. It doesn't sound good quiet. It's not a good quiet pedal.
Yeah, it does. It's pretty magical when you do plug that. I had it going through a Supro, the Black Magic. And
oh, nice. Yeah.
I was like turning, and then I hit the spot, and I was like, oh, mama.
Yeah, there's a certain spot that you just hit. It's just this confluence of everything working together. That's just it.
Yeah. I was like smiling, like my face hurt, because sometimes that happens. Not all the time, but when you do, it feels like you're speeding in a car with the top down and you don't care. It's fantastic.
Totally. Yeah, that's that was that feeling I got that first day I plugged in my first Rangemaster that my buddy built me. It was just, I couldn't wipe the smile off my face, and it's really fun being able to do that for other people.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of the power source, is this like true to the vintage pedals that they actually prefer 9-volt batteries as opposed to a like a digital power source?
Yeah, they were designed to. Well, the original was designed to work on a strange British 9-volt battery that looked kind of like a C battery, but it had the little nipple thing on both ends instead of
like Jared.
one. Yeah, kind of like that.
Well, yeah.
Well, maybe a D battery.
Now that you mention it.
But yeah, they're meant really for 9-volt battery seems to be the best. I put the 9-volt jack on there just because it doesn't change the tone so much as that you need a really clean power source because a lot of 9-volt adapters I've found can be pretty noisy. They just cause some extra hum with the circuit, and the battery is usually the cleanest source of power. Power bricks usually are pretty good, like a Strymon or a Voodoo Lab, stuff like that. And even like I usually have pretty good luck with a one spot or like a Boss adapter, but some of the other cheaper ones can make a lot of noise with it. But I wouldn't say it takes away from the actual tone of the pedal. It's a noisy pedal to begin with, and it adds more noise to it. Right.
Right.
It actually makes it easier, especially if you're playing live with it, because then you don't have another plug you got to figure out where to go, because it's probably not going to be anywhere near your pedal board.
Well, yeah, especially with those amp tops, it can be kind of a pain to run a whole separate thing, especially off of pedal power. I've seen a few pretty funny ways that people have used it. Like a friend of mine, Doug, has got he bought an amp top first and liked it so much he wanted it on his pedal board, so he just put Velcro on the top of it, stuck it upside down on his pedal board.
That's not a bad idea.
It works. He ended up getting a pedal too, but I think he still got that amp top just stuck on his pedal board. It's awesome.
That's hilarious. I like that. Can I ask about signal? Since you are you mentioned some pretty epic fuzz and drive stuff in your 4 on the floor, and then you've got the treble boost. What do you think about the mix-in? Like, with fuzz, you typically want to have that and the first in the chain, and everything seems to be that it has to be first in the chain. So, like, if you have a fuzz, your treble boost, and the 29 pedals, I mean, you're going to pull your hair out trying to figure that out.
Yeah, your signal chain can be frustrating. A, because some pedals have restrictions, and B, because it's so subjective too. Like, but as far as the pedals that have requirements, such as the fuzz face, tone benders, rangemaster, treble booster, stuff like that, that's looking for a specific impedance, it's fine as long as everything before it's true bypass. That's kind of, I think, why true bypass became this thing. It's one kind of switching system, and there's not buffered bypass is great if you're going to be running a lot of pedal boards. I think it was because of the vintage fuzzes that people started really thinking that true bypass was the only way to have a pedal, because buffers made your vintage pedals sound like crap. So yeah, if you want to do, I like to do treble booster into fuzz face, but reversing that, really no issues with that. Again, as long as they're not buffered bypass.
Is that a different sound though?
Oh yeah, I mean your signal chain, the pedal order can be so massively different. Like, I've started building some wah pedals, and I'm finding a lot of interesting things of putting a wah pedal in a chain. Like, a fuzz face before a wah sounds completely different than the fuzz face after the wah. But if you have these old style circuits, the output impedance of the wah pedal doesn't match up with the input impedance of your fuzz face. So there's all sorts of things that can go wrong with it. So you got to be careful.
Yes.
Yeah, it could be right. I mean, some people say, it's a hard, fast rule that you don't put, delay before your drive, but some people do it and it works great. Like it's a specific sound, but who's to say that that's bad or good? It's also subjective. So when I have a lot of people ask me that, like, how do I set up my pedal board? And it's like, well, I can tell you the way that it quote unquote should be done, but that doesn't mean that's how you have to do it. There's the filter, boost, drive or distortion, fuzz, modulation, time-based, and out to your amp.
I like the idea that you might have referred to, well, I don't know if I do it correctly, but I can tell you how Larry Johansson does it. And Larry Johansson told me this. And you create this myth of this guru, this sound guru named Larry Johansson.
Right.
And then pretty soon there's like, on Premier Guitar, there's articles about Larry Johansson and like reverb, like, oh, this was played by Larry Johansson.
Totally.
It could happen. Make it happen. Somebody make that happen. There. I put it out into the guitar verse, and there it goes.
Larry Johansson.
Chris, you've delighted us with the the pedal. Well, it's not even a pedal. What is it? It's the effect. With the effect that you sent over and let us play with, and you let us get our rock and roll socks off big time. And I know that you've done that for so many people already, and we loved hearing your story. It was really fantastic. You're just going to keep doing this and making these things, and anything new in the future?
Well, as for keep doing, I'm going to keep doing it until people stop buying them. I mean, I'm just getting a kick out of doing this, so I'll keep doing it forever if people will let me. I've always got things in the back of my head that I want to do, and I'm trying to do. It's tough to get new stuff off the ground. It took me 2 years to get these wah pedals done, but I finally got a pretty good system with them. And my third batch of them I put up, but it was the first one I had done in probably over a year. And they sold out in 10 seconds. So I'm a little scared to put more of them up again, but I'm getting ready to do some more of these wahs, and then I'll probably do some iterations of that, kind of like with the treble boosters. They used to all just be one knob. Then they were two knob, and then I did some amp tops. So with the wah pedal right now, it's two separate parts. It's like a head unit with a cocked wah control, and then you can hook up an expression pedal and use it as a wah. And I've been getting a lot of questions about just a wah pedal, to itself. So that's definitely a possibility in the near future to do something like that. Beyond that, I've got kind of like my pinnacle of treble boosts. I've been working really hard over the past few years to put together the all original parts and do a small run of true replicas of the Rangemaster. So I'm getting really close on those. It's been a long, arduous process trying to find all these, because all the parts are British. So I'm trying to find outdated vintage British parts in Los Angeles. So it's been a lot of eBaying and talking to people that live over there and friends that live there, looking at surplus stores and stuff. But I finally got pretty much all the stuff together. I'm just waiting on a few the little details, like the face plates and stuff, to get made, and then I'll have those coming up. And then hopefully after that, some fuzzes. But who knows? The treble boosters keep me busy enough as it is. So
yeah. Well, if you cut production down in half, then they're twice as more valuable, if you know what I'm saying. So, but then like fellas like us couldn't get it. So that's not fun. What am I saying? Chris, we're really grateful that you spent some time with us. It was awesome hearing about your whole backstory and all of the fantastic things that you're doing. And it's nice to have the option to get something that is weird and wonderful and handcrafted and one of a kind.
Thanks so much, man. I really appreciate you guys having me on.
You bet.
Yep.
Jared, I know you're itching to do this. What do you got cooking there, buddy?
Oh man. This would you rather this week is going to come after this little song that I sing, and it goes like this. Would you rather?
That was a really nice one, brother.
Wow. Save
Thank
that.
you.
That's good.
This Would You Rather this week is brought to us by our good old pal, Tony Baloney.
Yes, indeed.
So Tony says, hey, man, I'm Tony Baloney, and you just get called up from a last-minute jazz studio session while you were walking down the street, John Esterly. You don't have time to grab your favorite jazz box and have to head right to the studio. I mean, it's like, call, okay, I'll be there. Gone you are. You don't know where you ain't got time to grab it, so you just leave. The studio has 2 guitars. Number 1, an old acoustic with a sound hole pickup and a Floyd Rhodes, and that's one of the guitars, sorry. So old acoustic with a sound hole pickup. The other one is a Floyd Rose equipped Super Strat. Yes. Which axe do you choose to record with? Super Strat, awesome Floyd Rose get up, or old acoustic with some sort of sound hole pickup?
Okay.
Maybe a Brandon wound.
Or a Big Chief. From
Under
way
Chief.
back in the day. Yeah.
Under Chief.
Well, all right. That's I think this one's going to be pretty easy to go through here. I mean, unless Tony's got some weird surprise here. So, let's go around the horn. Tony, Chris, and Jared, and I'll wrap it up.
Well, I'm going with the Floyd Rose equipped Super Strat.
Absolutely.
What?
Yeah. What? No. I kind of thought of this because it's just, it's one of those things some people are more comfortable on electric guitars versus acoustic guitars.
That's true. That's me.
For a jazz session, I think you can get closer to what I would call a true jazz sound and tone from the acoustic guitar with the sound hole pickup.
Yes.
I mean, so that would be my choice. I'm going in and I'm grabbing the acoustic. Hopefully I won't get tetanus from the strings that are on it, and just plug in and jam away.
Yep.
What kind of jazz is this? Is this like bebop?
It's like smooth jazz, baby.
Smooth jazz? Like
jazz.
smooth jazz.
Smooth jazz. Is
So-
there any other kind?
Well, yeah, there's lots of kinds, but are we okay? All right, that helps out. Anyways, Chris, how about yourself?
I think I'm going Super Strat.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think I'd have to go that way, especially if we're doing like some smooth jazz jams. You can roll off that tone and just get, you can get some nice, good lead tones.
I mean, that's what the old tone control's for.
Exactly. You got to use that. It's there for a reason.
Yeah. Good
Jared?
choice. Well, if it's a Martin D38 or D28, sorry.
Trust me, it's not.
All right. So it's like an old guild with rusty strings.
I would take an old guild with rusty strings. I have several old guilds with rusty strings.
Well, honestly, the Super Strat would probably be a lot easier to play, especially with a Floyd Rose.
Really?
But if you're going to do bends and stuff like that, it's a lot easier to use the old acoustic, as long as the strings aren't going to, cut through your fingers. But I don't know. I guess I'll just be brave and try the acoustic first because Tony's right.
But
Especially
you just switched.
No.
All right.
I think I said as long as. Yeah.
Ernie's disagreeing.
That's Bert and Bert and Ernie. They both say, if it has a Super Chief sound hole pickup, that's one of those old D Armands. Then
or a Thunder Chief.
or Thunder Chief, then you should probably use that. So I'm going to go with acoustic with that sound hole pickup. They're magnetic, just like the other pickups out there. So
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think I'm going to do the same thing pretty much.
Super Strat.
Not the Super Strat. No, I am going to play. Yeah, you know what? I think I am actually going to do the Super Strat because
no one's going to see you. You're going to be in the studio.
I'm more comfortable on an electric.
There you go.
Even though it's a Strat, which I hate, but whatever. I got to do that. I got to take that path.
Let me ask now. Remind me, Tony Maloney. Is this Super Strat? Does that have the real nice, pointy, heavy, metally horns on it?
Well, it can. I mean, what I call a super strat generally is a Floyd Rose or Kahler or whatever, one of those trem systems, usually on an HSS or an HSH.
Yeah,
play out.
They came out with that series. I don't remember if it was. I think I have a Squier neck through actually.
Mm-hmm.
That's a Strat style, but it's a neck through guitar. It's actually pretty awesome guitar, it's different.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was just wondering. I mean, they came in many forms, I guess.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah.
That's true.
that's really the era that Ibanez came to power, and that really pushed them forward in their
for competitive reasons. They just
RS and RG series, and that was their shining moment.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was a pretty decent one you got there, Tony.
That's a good one, Day Connor.
Yeah.
Well, it made you think, didn't it?
It did. It made me think because I was actually torn for different reasons. So good one on you, Chris. We're gonna thank a few people and wrap up. All right. Can you hang around for just a minute?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Cool beans. Well, you're right, Todd. At this point of the show, there's a very special group of people that we like to thank.
That's right.
These are our executive producers, and they help make this podcast possible.
I love you.
I love you too, Jared.
No, talk about the executive.
I thought you were just so impressed with my delivery.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you might be asking, well, yeah, this executive producer thing sounds pretty cool. How do I become one? Well, what I want you to do is to go over to patreon.com/the guitar knobs and check out a couple of different levels in which you can participate and become a patron, a sponsor of this very podcast.
That's right.
Each level comes with its wonderful bevy of thank you gifts, including things like t-shirts and keychains and barefoot buttons and picks and stickers and all the good stuff. But as an executive producer, you get all that great stuff and one more thing. And what is that, Jared?
You get to have your name right on the thing.
Your name right on the thing. And that's what I'm doing right now. So special thanks to these executive producers, Mr. Tom Barazin, Martin Cliff, John Daly, Chris Kearney, Darren Gregory, Doug Christ, Michael Van Zant, Ken Sayers, Brian Robison, Michael Senchek, Stefan Lamb, Johnny Knowles, Anthony Lathrop, John Anglin, Tyler Bray, Brad Partridge, Chris Seidel, John Esterly, Doug Gann, Justin Jones, Brett Alexander, James White, Matt Hart, Liam Martin, James Pennington, Richard Kendall, Tig Harmon, John Williams, John Jackson, Jason Roush, David Rando, Douglas King, Gary Cooper, Rob Saxby, and Elad Mizrahi.
Wow, that's a new name, isn't it?
Elad. Not really sure. He's got to get back to me. I think he's torturing us because he said, "Hey, have fun saying my name."
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Well, I think I
must have said it different last week.
I think I've got the Mizrahis right.
The Mizrahi's great. Yeah, Elad, or Elad.
Right. We're happy to have you.
No
matter how you say it, we thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Wait, there's more, Todd. Don't stop me.
All right.
Because there is a level above the executive producer.
That's right.
We call them our grand poobahs.
That's right.
This is a very special group of people. They have to wear a fez while listening to the podcast.
That's right. In the club on top of the skyscraper.
The penthouse suite. So special thanks to these grand poobahs. Mr. Jonathan Jerusik, Corey Nigro, David Kaminga, Cody Lane, Cody Foster, Sean S.
Yes.
Tommy Manasco, Mark Garton, Adam Johnson, Steve Keys, Tim Nowak, and Tyler Ryans. Thank you. Thank you.
You guys are the spice of our lives. I'm telling you.
That's right.
Chris, thank you so much for joining us on this show. We really enjoyed having you, and best of all success. Although it sounds like you don't need so much of that wishing.
Yeah, good luck, buddy.
Thank you guys very much for having me. It's been a pleasure coming on.
You bet.
Yeah, it was fun.
And where can people find you? Last call out to just make sure everybody finds what you're making.
Mostly on Instagram, it's at DJ Lava Lamp, or my website, which is R2RElectric.com.
Awesome. And how about Tony Bolonsky?
Let's just say you need a special pick guard. You want to do
Yeah.
something fun. Say you've got a special birthday coming up.
Ooh.
I got a question.
Yes.
What if you have one of those really long Gibson pickups?
One of those like on the old what was that? The ES 300?
Yeah. They're
ES300.
super long. They go from
Yes. I've been doing some work with Lindy Fralin on
That's
some
right.
of those, making some bobbins for him. These are some old jazz boxes from the 40s. And
Tony does it all, everybody.
I do it all, but
That's awesome.
let's focus on the pick guards, if you will.
Okay.
Head over to
All right.
pickguardian.com and just check out some of the things that I have available there that you can purchase. By and large, what I do is custom work. So shoot me an email. Let me know what you need. I will take very good care of you.
That's right.
Awesome. Jared?
Alrighty. If you need some pickups, give me a buzz and we'll get you hooked up. Especially
Wow.
if you are a lieutenant colonel in the Canadian Army, I will hook you right up.
What's your website?
BrandonWildPickups.com. We do wide range and the noiseless jazz master, and I can even do a noiseless Telecaster if you ask me to. A bridge pickup.
I have
Whatever
one.
you need. We sell new pickups to look old, and we fix old pickups up. We rewind them. We do the rewind time with Brandon Wild Pickups. Please go to YouTube and join me, and we'll have lots of fun. You'll learn a thing or two.
Awesome. You can send me an email, todd@theguitarknobs.com, or DM me and the crew on Instagram @guitarknobs. Send us your would you rathers, doggone it. We need good new ones all the time.
I'll sing it nice and pretty.
That's right. And make sure you go check out Chris Vincent over at R2R Electric. And, if you're lucky enough to get on, the list to get one or grab one however you can, list or no list, I'm not even sure. Just get your hands on one of these dang things. And we really look forward to hearing about these new things that you're doing in the future. So please keep us posted with that, Chris.
Will do.
And in the meantime, everybody have a great guitar week and subscribe.
Yeah. You going to clap me?
Sure. Can he hear that?
Yeah. Bert, stop it. Let's do some coffee talk.
Yeah. What-a do, what-a da, what-a ding-a-ling-a-ding-dong.
How about now?
That's better.
Better?
Can you turn it all the way off?
Jared. It might be Tony. Let's see. Jared.
Because you do have those can hear besides the headphones on, right?
What are they called?
I can't describe it again if I tried.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.